Portugal worked to help modernize the beliefs of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, similar to our story where Portugal attempts to bring Christianity to Japan. Still today, though, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church has a strong belief in spirits, unlike any other denomination. The blending of cultures tends to create a new denomination with different practices. This is an issue because the differences in Christianity make it difficult to create cooperation among the Christian denominations. Even though there is more that unites us than divides us, we can only see the differences among us. This is according to Britannica, the Ethiopian Church. Uh, Next point is on persecution. Now, even though this story is set in the 16th century, there's still persecution of Christians today. North Korea is the biggest offender of modern day persecution. It's an extremely atheist country that, through totalitarian rule, has punished those who wish to believe something other than the divine rule of their leader. Countries in the Middle East, like Afghanistan and Pakistan, through oppressive rule, treat Christians poorly. They have mostly Islamic citizens, and according to Open Doors USA, 34 of the top 50 countries in which Christians are persecuted are majority Islamic. Now, even Buddhist countries like Myanmar and Laos continue to persecute Christians. Japan in the 16th century was majority Buddhist as well. In Myanmar, um, according to a report in July 2018, uh, the Burmese army destroyed more than 60 churches in 18 months, including Christian schools. Threats our fictional characters faced in a hostile country are still applicable today. That's according to Open Doors USA. Now, on to the next point: climate change. Similar to the story, Christianity warns us of an impending Armageddon, like many scholars believe climate change can lead to. The people who came to warn the nation were silenced by governmental authorities, and only through trials and tribulations, both the priest and the story attempt to create change. I like how businesses are striving to become greener and more efficient. It's up to the citizen to make a difference. Private ventures like Tesla are working to combat the coming Armageddon when the government fails to act. In the same way the two priests can ignite the populace in Japan, these companies are inspiring the average citizen to change.
The next point is connections to other texts. Here are a couple of connections that the novel has with other texts. First connection we see here is with the short story My Old Man, written by Ernest Hemingway. This connection concerns the aspect of trust and view on someone in particular. In this case, it is betrayal, which taints trustworthiness and personal outlook. In the novel, there is a character named Kaichijiro, who the main characters, Sebastian and Garp, encounter along their journey to Japan. Kaichijiro is a fellow Christian, so he claims, but throughout the story gives in to the pressure of trampling the Fumi, which is a holy image of Christ. He is weak-minded, weak-willed, and weakly structured, which is part of his weakness in faith. With his act of betrayal, Sebastian and Garp cannot look at him the same because during these life-threatening times of persecution, Kaichijiro does not stick with them and is not firm in his faith, which leads the others to be further dealt with. This is unfair. In the short story My Old Man, Joe, who is the narrator, has what looks to be a close connection with his father. They did many things together, and Joe believed that they had a strong bond. Joe's father was into racing horses and would race to win money. Because of his greed for money and winning, he ultimately rigs the races for his winnings. Joe's father had his final race when he had fallen off his horse, being crushed by it. After Joe sees what is happening, the others claimed that he deserved what was coming to him. In this, Joe realizes that his father had been cheating and could no longer look at him the same way again, nor could he confront him about it. Among the two texts, Joe, Sebastian, and Garp all felt betrayed and misled. Our second connection is made with the novel is the book The Crucible, written by Arthur Miller. This connection is similar to the first one, but in this case, betrayal is committed and remorse and resent come into play. At the end of the novel, Sebastian encounters Kaichijiro once more. But he is remorseful of what he'd done to betray him. He did not forgive himself easily, but asked Sebastian, who is a priest, to hear his confession. In the book The Crucible, John Proctor, one of the characters, is a man who committed adultery against his wife Elizabeth with a younger girl named Abigail. After this, he cannot forgive himself for what he has done. He has labeled himself an adulterer, and any public announcement or statement of his sin makes his guilt and remorse worse. He cannot be trusted any longer by his wife. The overall connection with the novel is his guilt and remorse for his act of sin and betrayal. Among the two texts, the characters Kaichijiro and John Proctor feel guilt and remorse for their act of betrayal. Sebastian and Elizabeth feel betrayed.
For our last point, we have the big ideas. We have our big questions that ended with the book. First, is God silent? Throughout the entire book, we have these very spiritual people, these priests, coming to the country and wanting to change the country as it is and make it become a Christian country. Throughout the entire text, we see no time where we have God speaking, except for one point where it was inside of the piece that Rodriguez had when he stepped onto the fume. When he was looking down at it, it described it as he looked at it and it talked to him and it said trample. That's only the only look we really have against God in the entire book, but we also find through the thoughts of Rodriguez that Jesus was always with him throughout this entire time, and he wanted the suffering to stop, but it was the evil of others that was stopping him from helping. The second question is, do missionaries help? The interpreter gave us this question around midway through when they were questioning Rodriguez, and he said that missionaries don't help because people like the first two Christians who were put out on the tide to die and the people who are in the pit, they die for the faith. This is answered by just saying that the evil of the country that they are in is overwhelming the people who are trying to help. And the last question was faith renounced, or was it just a formality? This was also posed by the interpreter. And it comes back to the end versus Rodriguez versus Ferreira, where Ferreira, his faith was renounced, and we see Rodriguez is just a formality to stop the suffering. That's all we have, and sorry for the little break in the middle. We had a issue with the recording. We were only able to do 10 minutes. Other than that, that's all we got.